Innocence shattered, the phrase prosecutors used this morning in opening statements of the Casey Frederickson murder trial. The first day of testimony just wrapped up about 30 minutes ago in the murder trial of Casey Frederickson. It brought an end to an emotionally draining first day for all involved. Defense attorneys argued against allegations that Frederickson didn't cooperate with police. They say he had a right to remain silent and avoid self-incrimination. We will have more testimony for you tonight at 6. And the aftermath happened live right here on Midday. For more, let's go to KIMT News 3's Dee Stephen, who has more on how a live shot in the Med City led to that arrest.
As for Adam, he tells us he is doing just fine this evening. But wow, Matt, Amy, what a story, huh?
Yeah, it has been quite a wild day. All right. Thank you, Dee. Sterling State Bank did release a statement about these robberies. You can find that along with this story on our website, KIMT.com. Just search under local news. The man authorities believe is behind an armed robbery in Mason City is now being described as one of the country's most wanted bank robbers. The man suspected in the Tuesday morning armed robbery of a Mason City credit union is known across the country as the AK-47 Bandit. And as we first told you last night, he's accused of robbing 6 banks and trying to rob a 7th. But the overall timeline of these events has been very sporadic over the past 3 years. Take a look at this timeline. According to the FBI, the first bank hit by the so-called AK-47 Bandit was in Chino, California in February of 2012. There, he's accused of shooting and wounding a police officer during his escape. Less than a month later, the FBI says he attempted to rob a bank in Sacramento before striking again just 3 days later in Vacaville, California. Then he waited 4 months, decided to leave the state, head north and rob a bank in a small town in Washington near Seattle. Fast forward another 4 months to November, where agents say he traveled to another new state for a robbery in Rexburg, Idaho, a town similar with a population to Mason City. There appears to be a nearly 2-year break before the so-called AK-47 Bandit heads further east, robbing a bank last August in Nebraska City. And that brings us to Tuesday morning, when the FBI and local authorities believe the AK-47 Bandit hit again 11 months following his most recent heist at Iowa Heartland Credit Union in Mason City. Nobody was injured in this most recent crime, but the man did leave what some federal agents believe was a functional explosive device. An FBI agent near his last target in Nebraska describes just how dangerous this man is. We all know farming is a major part of life in both Iowa and Minnesota, but some folks from half a world away are in North Iowa today learning new skills to take home to their fields. They traveled all the way from Brazil to learn farming techniques and also to get a look at some of the farming equipment used in Iowa. They also got a taste of some delicious Iowa sweet corn. One farmer from Brazil says farming is just as important there as it is here. He says they do 80% beans, 20% corn. Farm Bureau Financial Services hosted the event. Still to come, helping burn patients heal faster by feeding them. The role nutrition plays in recovery, next in Covering Your Health. One of the most common health care options for seniors, Medicare, is celebrating a significant milestone today. 50 years ago today, on July 30th, 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed amendments to the Social Security Act into law, creating Medicare. At the time the bill was signed into law, roughly half of all seniors living in the country were uninsured. And now it's a program that helps more than 55 million Americans. Of the many fires burning in our area today, a serious blaze in New Hampton.
Portions of Five Star Co-op caught fire around 2 this afternoon, prompting a large response from several departments.
The DNR will notify Sheriff Freitag if they believe that the weather is clear to call off the warning before 7. I know there are a lot of burn bans and warnings across the entire North Iowa and southern Minnesota area.
We just haven't had a drop of rain in quite a while.
Very dry.
Chief Meteorologist Adam Frederick is in the Storm Team 3 Forecast Center.
Southern Minnesota, a local department says they were heading to calls almost all day. The Stewartville Fire Department, which is made up of volunteers, went to a total of 6 calls on Wednesday, 4 of which were fires. Nobody was hurt in any of these incidents, but fire officials say it takes a lot of the volunteers to respond to this many calls. In fact, this can happen across the state. A lot of volunteer fire departments in North Iowa as well. And he says on a usual day, the department only responds to 1 call. He also is thankful to have employers in the community that let these firefighters drop everything they are doing and respond to the emergencies. A local vet tech student was diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer. Luckily, it was caught early, but wait until you hear how. KIMT News 3's Dee Stephen joins us live with more.
That animals can sometimes detect different diseases and cancers.
Pretty amazing. All right, thanks, Dee Dee. We'll hear more on Tara's incredible story coming up at 10. Had some really great stories to tell today, that's for sure.
We sure have.
Well, fair season is underway in North Iowa. Tonight, the list of events at the North Iowa Fair includes the crowning of a new queen, inflatables, a little farmer's exhibit for kids, and a roller derby event tonight. But it all starts with a salute to heroes. KIMT News 3's Matt Bradley is live from the fairgrounds in Mason City. Hello, Matt. You have more on that. We are planning to meet some young agriculture stars who have already had some amazing achievements. Well, turning to weather, where we have seen quite a mild few days, but it's really good for fair weather. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Adam Frederick at the North Iowa Fair, enjoying all the sights and sounds there. Hi, Adam. Incontinence used to be treated with surgery, and that wasn't always successful. A new outpatient procedure has changed that. As Marty Salt explains, it's also changing lives. Maintaining an adequate blood supply locally is important year-round. Why people are rolling up their sleeves as summer winds down in tonight's Covering Your Health. For years, parents of babies at high risk of developing a peanut allergy have been told to hold off feeding them peanut-containing foods. Now, the American Academy of Pediatrics says it's important to change that mindset. They're recommending the introduction of peanut into the diets of high-risk infants in a new policy statement. Peanut allergy is one of the most common food allergies in the United States. It's also the leading cause of fatal or near-fatal food reactions. Those reactions can range from itching in the mouth and throat to full airway closure within minutes. The recommendations are meant to guide physicians and parents until more extensive guidelines can be developed sometime next year. I'm Amy Fleming, and that's tonight's Covering Your Health. When it comes to youth athletes and concussion, rest is best, right? Not necessarily when you're talking cognitive or mental rest. Studies over the past few years show that excessive cognitive rest may be associated with prolonged concussion symptoms. Concussion experts say ideally a slow progression of mental activity is best for most kids. That includes returning to school. However, excessively holding kids back from using handheld devices, the computer, or watching TV may do more harm than good. Rushing from school to sports can be a grind. It's important to make sure your kids have the appropriate fuel both on and off the field. Doctors say a small snack after school is reasonable if your child is going to have a hard practice. Before practice, a cheese stick with some fruit is another good option and will give your child energy to last throughout the workout. During an activity, doctors say children rarely need sports drinks unless it's a very long practice or they'll be running for a long time. Sports drinks often contain a lot of sugar, and they say most of the time water is best. After practice, experts say snacks aren't really necessary, but if you're going to bring something, make sure it's nutritious. And that's a look at tonight's Covering Your Health. I'm Amy Fleming.